more oh, hello. Okay, hello everybody. Chapter 19, reoccurring themes. DMZ, autumn months. Everyone had been working hard on the coast to make sure there was enough food for everyone, not only for the summer but preserved for the winter as well. Efforts were paying off, and everyone would have enough. The scouting didn't stop, though. In fact, scouting became even more important, as all leadership had come to the same conclusion that people would be coming and trying to take their food at any time. There were discussions on whether to maybe leave leaflets explaining that there was no food, but that would probably have brought more people. They thought about leaving instructions, but the reality was they didn't have enough food for many who could potentially come in. It'd already be a tight pinch until the next summer, when they could be a lot closer to full production. Nobody wanted to set up traps or other deterrents for people. Honestly, the consensus was that everyone only wanted to be left alone and try to survive. There was maybe about 30 to 50 miles of DMZ between them and where the next groups of people were, but it was basically the same city-state than other groups trying to survive. If they'd had some kind of numbers of how many people to expect, they could have maybe rationed it out, but there was no way to know. In the end, they decided to leave signs out as you got close, so people would know how to approach safely. Everyone else would be treated as hostile. Nobody really knew what they would do to defend against civilians and children, but at least they had some semblance of a plan. The group knew all too well from history what people would do when them or their family was starving. The people out in the DMZ and the other DMZs still didn't truly know what starving was, but they would very soon. In the spring, maybe travel would be a little easier and safer. Maybe there'd be a way to link up with Puyallup and the other farms and hopefully get some kind of network going. The coastal group had heard rumors of there being super momentary trading hubs, but had no way of learning the complex locations and how to get in as friendlies. They imagined that the city-states were also trying to find out this information to raid them, so it would all be kept super secret. The coastal group kept trying to reach out to people on radios, but it was too far out, unfortunately. And if they broadcast it too powerfully, everybody in the state would hear it, putting everyone at risk. So that was the plan, survive the winter. How'd they do that? Not by hunkering down, but trying to get as much forward warning as possible. This meant scouting parties. They had really good maps, which was good, but they needed to keep making sure no big groups were trying to get through. Trying to get all the way through to Puyallup was too dangerous, but they imagined by spring that Puyallup would have enough of the gangs cleared out. The coastal groups kept patrols up there to a minimum, but not absolute zero. It was maybe 1 to 5 ratio of scouting. Enough to go out and look for supplies, keep marking stuff on maps, check up on any last settlements. Unfortunately, the few that were left simply up and disappeared. The people were gone without a trace. They hadn't taken any of their stuff, though, so either they left in a hurry or someone grabbed them all. The group surmised there hadn't been much passing on the DMZ because whoever was likely grabbing all these people was getting everyone trying to pass through as well. The scouting party upped its security level when it found the last subdivisions and towns wiped out. They were trying to gauge whether they had been attacked yet, because they had the lower end of security or their stealth capacity. They decided to err on the side of firepower and took a few of the better trained guys with them, upped the ante on their drones, and kept at it. The static defenses compensated by taking on some of the new promising recruits and setting up more early warning devices. The defensive capacity stayed relatively the same and allowed everyone a reasonable sense of security. Also, the new recruits were happy because they were eager to defend and earn their keep. New gates were built, new fences were built, and new towers were put up. Some of the towers were in plain sight, but others were hidden. There were plenty of guys they found who liked to sit in trees all day away from everyone, so they were given radios and allowed to do that very thing. It all worked out very well. If the scouting team found any places that hadn't been looted yet, it got marked on a map, and the quick response team would parse some people with the scavenging team, and it would all get picked up post-haste while the scouting team kept eyes on the perimeter. This process kept rinse-repeating throughout the autumn months until finally they were fairly far out when they started seeing abundance of drug paraphernalia. Chapter 20, A Clue, DMZ, late autumn. The scouting team radioed it in and found some high ground where they would be safe and sent out the drones. Nines and Drone Girl operated their drones, starting first going north and south as they had come relatively from the west. Some toenails clanked on the corrugated steel as their now well-fed purple and black striped short-haired dog came over to see why they had stopped. It heard the drones launch and knew what that meant. It wanted to be let outside. It knew the routine, and it had survived as a tiny pup out here for a lot longer than any of them, and her size made her more than capable. They let her out, and she greeted the other scouts and then hopped off to do her own version of a perimeter check. As she ran out, the drones picked up a special collar Drone Girl had rigged on her so they could see her plain as day in anything. On their radar system. Nobody else would be able to see her, though, without the specific frequency. Also, a camera popped up, a monitor in the control center of the truck, and they could see everything the dog was seeing. The dog grew up into still being an odd pig sort of shape. Nobody had ever seen a dog like it, and it seemed to be some kind of mutant hyena or something whose mom got loose from a zoo after the collapse. Whatever breed it was immune to the dog virus and had saved lots of their domesticated buddies through the antibodies it helped make. It could not only outrun other dogs, but it had teeth like buzzsaws and let out a happy yip yip noise and could screech similar to a Tasmanian devil. It very soon after doing this got the nickname Spaz. It was sort of like a popular Tasmanian devil character from the cartoons combined with the color purple. Some kid had come up with it and it stuck really well. So while Spaz was running around sniffing everything, Nines and Drone Girl searched out with their drones while the security team established a perimeter. The security chief notified the command truck over comms that the QRT was on its way as a precautionary measure. There'd been tiny drug clues before at some of the abandoned subdivisions, trailer parks, and apartments, but none like they'd seen here. None with the density? I don't know. Everything to make street drugs at every store was gone. Everything at the pharmacies were emptied out. It was all done, and looked a very specific way, like it was all done by the same group. The security chief worked with the QRT to make sure they take the same road in. If this enemy group had set up roadblocks or traps, they'd be unable to find any of it. They were unable to find any of it. They suspected it'd be more likely they'd find really bad traps close on, right as the perimeter was about to be finished setting up, and the drones were a ways out. One of the security guys called out that they found a survivor. They yelled at the survivor to stay back. They were still maybe 20 or 30 feet out and walking slowly with their arms out. Oh, they want to give you a hug. Nines heard one of the security guys joke about. Oops. That gave Nines a horrible flashback to a dream she'd had passed out in the library so many months earlier. One of the drones on her vehicle sensed people coming up on the van that weren't a part of the team and self-deployed. It immediately scanned several metallic objects hidden in the person's sleeves. Nines... the first person. Nines yelled at Drone Girl to launch everything. Recall everything back to local and go on full red. Several hidden drones launched sideways off the side of the van, and lights shined red off it in every direction, letting the team know they were in code red, which was full alert. Nines busted out of the van and put half a mag into the person walking right up, just before they got within reaching distance of the security guy. Had made first contact. They fell with a thud, and two more came through the brush. The survivor fell with a thud. Okay. The security team opened up on them with expertly placed shots from their CQB rifles. The sharpshooters were already on top of the command vehicle, one with a SOCOM 16 and the other with a SCAR Heavy, and started covering longer distances as best they could. "How'd they get through?" one questioned, yelling as he fired.